Snow fell softly over the deserted road. The night should have been quiet, just another winter patrol. Shadow froze first, ears up, tail stiff, sensing danger long before Officer Grant understood what was happening. Then Grant slammed on the brakes. Staring at the most shocking sight of his career, Officer Grant and his loyal canine. Shadow spotted her, a young bride in a wheelchair, dressed in a torn red wedding gown, shivering alone beside an abandoned truck. Before Grant could move, K9 Shadow erupted into frantic barking, pulling so hard on his leash it nearly snapped. Before Grant could even react, Shadow launched forward, barking with the kind of desperate urgency he only used when someone's life was seconds from slipping away. Grant jumped out of the patrol car and ran toward the bride. She tried to wheel herself back into the darkness, her lips trembling as she whispered, "Please, don't let him take me." Her voice shook with a fear so real it silenced the storm. Grant approached carefully, unaware he had just stepped into a deadly chase. He thought he was rescuing a runaway bride, having no idea she was a billionaire heiress. But Shadow knew the truth. This woman wasn't running from heartbreak. She was running for her life. Before we start, make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. The snowstorm had swallowed the entire highway, turning the world into a blur of white and silence. Officer Grant drove slowly, windshield wipers fighting against the icy wind. Beside him, K9 Shadow sat alert, nose twitching, muscles tense. Grant knew that posture Shadow had sensed something. Suddenly, the German Shepherd let out a sharp bark and lunged toward the passenger door, claws scraping the floorboard. Grant hit the brakes. Shadow never reacted without reason. Grant stepped out, the cold slicing through his uniform, and followed Shadow's gaze. That's when he saw her, a young bride, sitting alone in a wheelchair in the middle of the storm, her red wedding dress soaked, her arms wrapped tightly around herself. Her face was pale, streaked with tears, and her hair clung to her cheeks like she had been running for hours. Shadow approached slowly, tail stiff, scanning for threats. Grant's heart dropped. Brides didn't appear in wheelchairs on empty roads by accident. Something terrible had happened, and whoever, or whatever she was running from, might still be close. Grant knelt beside her, brushing snow away from her trembling hands. "Ma'am, can you tell me your name?" he asked gently. For a moment, she didn't answer. Her lips parted, then closed again as if she was afraid her own voice might betray her. Finally, in a whisper so soft it almost vanished into the wind, she murmured, "Elena." Shadow stepped closer, pressing his body against her wheelchair, sensing her fear rising like a wave. His ears twitched, his eyes scanning the tree line with sharp, nervous precision. "Elena," Grant repeated, "are you hurt? Did someone abandon you out here?" She shook her head too quickly. "No, I can't stay here." "You shouldn't either." Her voice cracked, and she glanced over her shoulder as if expecting a monster to emerge from the dark pines. Grant noticed her wedding ring, then large, custom-made, far too expensive for an ordinary bride. Whoever she was, she came from money. A lot of it. Shadow growled suddenly, low in warning, staring toward the woods. Elena flinched. "Please," she begged, clutching the arms of her wheelchair. "You have to leave before he comes back." Grant's pulse spiked. Whoever he was, Shadow sensed him too, and he was still out there. Grant lifted Elena gently from the snow, her cold-soaked dress clinging to her trembling body. She was lighter than he expected, fragile in a way that made his chest tighten. Shadow trotted beside them, never taking his eyes off the forest. Inside the patrol truck, the heater blasted warm air, but Elena still shivered uncontrollably. Shadow climbed in after her, curling protectively at her feet. Grant grabbed the radio. "Dispatch, this is Unit 12. I have a distressed female possible medical emergency. Requesting immediate assistance." Before he could say more, Elena grabbed his sleeve weakly. "Please, don't let them take me back." Grant met her terrified eyes. "Elena, who's after you?" Her breath hitched. Tears spilled faster now, each one carving a desperate path down her cheeks. My wedding wasn't a wedding. It was a deal. A contract. I never wanted it. Grant frowned. A deal for what? She swallowed hard. "Money, power, my inheritance." Her voice cracked as she squeezed her hands together. "I'm not just some bride. I'm the only heir to a multi-billion-dollar estate. He married me for control. And when I tried to escape, he said he'd make sure no one ever found me again." Shadow growled sharply, sensing danger in every word she spoke. Grant's stomach twisted. Someone with that much wealth and someone determined to control it would stop at nothing. "How long ago did you run?" he asked. Elena looked toward the darkening sky. "Just before sunset," she whispered. "And he's coming." Grant didn't waste a second. He started the truck, turning it toward the highway. But they'd barely driven a mile when Shadow stiffened, pressing his paws against the dashboard, barking sharply at something behind them. Grant checked the mirror. Headlights too bright. Too fast. Too deliberate. Elena's breath hitched. No, that's them," she whispered, shrinking into her seat as if trying to disappear. The black SUV closed the distance with predatory precision before skidding to a stop across the road, blocking their path entirely. Two men stepped out, dressed in dark coats, moving with the confidence of people who believed consequences didn't apply to them. Grant stepped out slowly, one hand hovering near his holster. Shadow leapt from the truck, planting himself between Elena and the approaching men. "We're looking for a missing bride," the taller man said smoothly. "Family emergency. She's mentally unstable. We need to bring her home." Grant didn't move. "Then show me identification." The man's smile vanished. His hand drifted toward the inside of his coat. Shadow's snarl ripped through the cold air, sharp and deadly. Elena whimpered, covering her face. Grant stepped forward. "Back away, now." The second man took a threatening step. That was all it took. Shadow launched, barking with explosive force. Grant didn't hesitate. Whatever these men wanted, surrendering Elena was not an option, and the chase for survival had officially begun. Grant floored the accelerator, but the icy road betrayed them. The patrol truck fishtailed, skidding sideways until it slammed against a snowbank, stopping just long enough for the black SUV to roar up behind them and cut them off completely. Before Grant could react, the two men rushed toward the truck. One yanked the back door open, grabbing Elena's wheelchair handles. "You're coming with us," he hissed. Elena screamed. Shadow exploded out of the truck like a fired bullet, slamming into the man's arm with trained precision. His jaws clamped down, forcing the attacker backward into the snow. Grant tackled the second man, wrestling him into the ice, but in the chaos, Elena's wheelchair slid, the wheels losing traction. She tumbled forward, the chair tipping dangerously toward a deep frozen ditch. "Shadow, go!" Grant shouted. The canine released the attacker instantly and sprinted after her, claws tearing through the snow. Just as the wheelchair slid over the edge, Shadow lunged, biting down on the metal armrest and anchoring himself with every ounce of strength. Snow sprayed everywhere as he dragged her back toward solid ground. Elena sobbed in shock. Clinging to him, Grant finally subdued both attackers, cuffing them with shaking hands. Backup lights appeared in the distance, but Elena knew the truth. She was alive because of Shadow. Hours later, the storm had quieted, leaving the world wrapped in white silence. At the hospital, Elena lay in a warm bed, her cheeks no longer pale, her breathing steady. Grant stood nearby, Shadow resting faithfully at her bedside, his head gently placed on her lap, as if refusing to leave her for even a moment. A detective entered with a folder. "We ran the background check," he said, looking from Grant to Elena. "Your fiancé wasn't planning a life with you. He was planning a takeover. Your marriage would have given him full control of your billion-dollar empire." Elena swallowed hard, tears gathering. "I knew he was dangerous, but I didn't know how far he'd go." Grant placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "He won't hurt you again." Shadow barked softly, nudging her hand until she smiled. The detective continued. "Those men you encountered, they were instructed to retrieve you before anyone noticed you were missing." Elena looked at Shadow. "If you hadn't found me, I wouldn't be here." She turned to Grant, her voice warm. "I want to do something in return. Something meaningful." A week later, Elena unveiled a new project, a state-of-the-art K-9 training center dedicated to rescue and protection work. She named it Shadow's Hope Foundation. During the ceremony, Elena hugged Shadow tightly. "I thought I was alone," she whispered. "But you proved I wasn't." Grant watched proudly, and Shadow, the unexpected hero, wagged his tail ready for his next mission.